I'm Damien Fowler.
And I'm Eileen Sliffrin.
And welcome to this edition of The Big Impression.
Today, we're talking about how one of the fastest growing categories in the spirits industry, tequila and mezcal, is being shaped by culture, identity, and global consumer trends.
Our guest is Sophie Kelly, SVP of Global Tequila and Mezcal categories at Diageo. She's leading the strategy behind some of the world's most iconic tequila brands, helping Diageo navigate its growth, changing cultural expectations, and the new ways consumers connect with celebration.
We'll talk about how Diageo is balancing global scale with local storytelling, and, in short, how tequila has become a cultural force beyond just the shot glass.
So let's get into it.
Diageo is no stranger to bold campaigns and really intersecting in today's culture. How does your latest work in the tequila and mezcal category continue that legacy? And with your latest campaigns, what was one core story or rather insight that you're trying to bring to life?
Our moment of consumption is normally when people are out socializing, trying to have the best times of their lives, right? Or celebrate a major moment in their life. So think birthdays, weddings, you know.
Or even here it can.
Even here it can, right? Festivals. So what is really important for us as we build our brands and think about how we go to market is that we are creating experiences for consumers to participate in. You know, I think some of my favorite stuff across the category is on Don Julio. I mean, we launched a brand new product, 1942 Minis, which was a 50 ml, supposed to allow people to access the luxury of 1942 at a better price point in a fun format. And we did that in the Oscars, right? But the most recent one, which I just adore and am still obsessed with and is still going, would be our cultural global collaboration with Peggy Gou. She is the number one DJ globally. She's also an icon in the fashion world, and she creates a load of fashion jewelry. We discovered her in Southeast Asia, and she is a massive fan of 1942. You know, as marketers, we just started to ride along with her and gift her and be a part of her experience. So we approached her and said, any interest in creating a 1942 special limited edition with us? And she was blown away. She was like, yes, but, you know, can I design the product? Can I design the experience? Can it be global? Can it travel? Can it be teased? We said yes to all of the above. So we started off in Miami where we had an intimate party, but that intimate party probably had influencers at it that had over 100,000 followers on Instagram. So we started to tease the collaboration, which was called the 1942 Gou. And that's a really important element because we changed the logo of 1942 to be 1942 Gou. We teased the campaign with outdoor and these events. And we went from Miami to New York to London to Milan, and then to Seoul, and then to Hong Kong. New York had a pop-up souvenir store in a car park. When we went to Milan, we did it in a piazza. When we went to London, we did it differently. When we were in Hong Kong, we did a hot pot pop-up. One of the most special parts of the experience was in Seoul, right in her home neighborhood and right next to where she was going to perform. And that was already up 6 weeks before it came. So we're teasing the drum roll in and the desire for people to be a part of this limited experience.
Now, I know you're talking a lot about like out of home, but what were some of the other marketing channels that you leaned into for this campaign?
Everything in the pop-up was consumable or was collectible. So whether it was the keychains, whether it was the hats, whether it was her specifically designed scarves, consumers could collect it, they could create content on it, and they could share it broader. So then what started to happen was they were creating their own content, she was creating her own content, and influencers within her sphere were creating their own content. And then there was the tease that we were moving to a new city. So that was creating hype in that. So when you think about channel mix, it was digital, it was static, it was experiences, real life experiences, and most importantly, actions, doing something, not just talking about it, and then providing people with beautiful little artifacts that they could collect from the experiences to participate and create around.
We want to get to like what your takeaways are in a minute, but before that, I want to ask you, that it's interesting when you watch the kind of trajectory of different spirits. It seems like tequila's having a serious moment right now. I mean, for example, in New York, just the other week, I ordered a Mezcal Negroni. And it was amazing.
800 new craft brands have been launched into tequila in the last, 2 years.
Wow,
right?
that is a lot.
So we are seeing a boom in tequila in the same way we saw in North American whiskeys and bourbon in the last sort of 5-6 years. And as a global business unit that I represent, so you're running the gamut of understanding the benefit of the experience of tequila, which is high-end tequilas that are incredibly versatile, that are suitable for multiple occasions and multiple drinks in a culture like the US, to teaching people that tequila is no longer that bad shot you had in college. How do you educate? How do you train? How do you get these drinks into culture so that people choose them? Well, you got to have strong brands, right? You got to have the love of the bartender and the on-premise, and you create the biggest rituals there beyond anywhere else, and they travel into the home. And then you got to pick up how consumers are interacting, right? So I'll give you a fun one, for example. We were in the ski fields, and we observed that people were taking hot chocolates in shot glasses, and then they were tipping the mini that I gave you, the 1942 mini, into the top of the shot glass, and that was a serve. So we took that and we scaled it across the ski resorts, right? So from simple mixed drinks to sipping aged liquids to fun, novel rituals in clubs is how you really fuel what's going on.
In terms of takeaways, do you have any kind of data points that show the growth and interest in this category?
It's the fastest growing spirits segment in the category right now, and is forecasted to be that way for the next 5 years. So if you've got spirits running at about 3 or 4%, you've got tequila running at about 6 to 11%, which is kind of amazing. It's also very specific on its development. So if you look at the US, it's more developed. You look at Mexico, it's very developed. In the rest of the world, it's between 5 and 15% penetration. Give you a fun fact, like whiskey and vodka is up around 36, 42, depending on the market. Yeah. Too many people associated tequila with college shots. That is not the experience of tequila. It is playing across high energy, it's in the club, it's with the VIPs, it's with the celebrities, but it's also playing in casual connect moments and simple mixed drinks. So you're able to get into cocktail culture as well as simple mixed drinks. So I think that's a lot of the key to the growth we're seeing, and just the versatility and the taste profiles.
Now that the campaign's out there, you did hit on some of these, obviously, but are there key signals and metrics that you look to on your dashboard, as it were?
Our consumers had watched over 190 days of content, right? We got up to 9 billion impressions, which is pretty extraordinary. And what I'd say is, lots of chat about AI and is it going to take over? I think the beautiful combination of cultural collaboration with talent, the right kind of elements in the experience to create talkability, and then utilizing tech from a generate insights about the communities and how we're going to combine them and what they need in the experience, to also distribution, right? Taking the influencer content, taking the bartender content, taking the experience content, and amplifying that out to a further bigger audience was critical on distribution.
Sophie, can you tell me whether there is a market or a moment that delivered the most surprising engagement or maybe taught you something new out of this whole campaign?
One of the most surprising stats was just how many hours of content our consumers consumed on the campaign, because it was so engaging, right? The other thing I'd say is as she traveled, she went into global duty free. She signed bottles, she met consumers, and that exploded as well. So I think one of the surprising things for us was, this relationship started in Singapore, and then we cultivated it, and then we were able to scale it globally, but also make it extremely local to that market.
So, Sophie, from your perspective, and here's your big impression here, how are those broader cultural shifts really influencing the way Diageo approaches brand building in the tequila and mezcal space?
You must create experiences that allow what we like to talk about, which is accessible luxury, right, for people to engage in. So when you think about this, we created the Baby Mini Peggy Goo bottles, which are 50 ml bottles, and you can access the taste of the experience. I mean, I think formatting is a really simple way of doing it. I think inviting people in to experiences at multiple layers and letting them access a world that they may have thought was out of reach is super important when you're creating experiences. And then I think giving them little artifacts from that to carry through that represent that something special that represents the experience they were able to engage in.
I want to ask you, this is a very important question. What new drinks around tequila are available now? Are you seeing pop up?
I think you said it, the Negroni, the Espresso Martini. We're even doing old fashions with tequila. And that is a real result of versus people thinking about tequila as just Blanco or mixed in a margarita. We have this huge explosion in aged tequilas, which are really sourcing from whiskey moments and rituals, as well as kind of the versatility of tequila.
So, Sophie, you've worked across several iconic brands. What's one lesson about cultural storytelling that stayed consistent throughout your career?
Work with people who love your brands, listen to what's happening with your branding culture, and then add to that, enhance the experience. Don't interrupt it and don't make it up. And don't play where you don't have a right to play.
Is there a non-spirits brand that you admire right now for the way it connects with people emotionally or culturally?
La Boo Boo. Have you seen these things?
Yes. Yeah.
They are little kind of monster icons that everybody is hanging off their bags. I just love it.
A final question, I think, is what's your favorite drink?
You know what? I am a Don Julio or a Casamigos Reposado on rocks with a slice of orange. I love my 1942, but so they're mine.
And that's it for this edition of The Big Impression.
This show is produced by Molten Heart. Our theme is by Love and Caliber, and our associate producer is Sydney Cairns.
And remember,
work with people who love your brands. Listen to what's happening with your branding culture, and then add to that. Enhance the experience. Don't interrupt it, and don't make it up, and don't play where you don't have a right to play.
I'm Damien.
And I'm Elise.
And we'll see you next time.